you follow me through as I solve it. After that, I'll come back and explain more why we did certain things. Okay.
Okay.
So we are on the 2008, and we picked the following information. We're told in the question that the debtors had this balance on 31st December 2008, which included bad debt of 1,006. So we've shown the bad debt, but we cannot still include the bad debt in the debtors closing balance. So that's why we've deducted that from it, and you have 11,000 as the closing balance now. Okay, and then we put in our credit sales as well. Now, look at something interesting here. If you are balancing this, here will be 23,000. Here is 12,600. So check the difference for me. How much is that? 23 minus 11.6. Oh, more calculator, Ben one. Okay, so 23,000 minus 23,000 minus
11,400.
11,400. Okay. Now look at something here. That difference is supposed to be here. 11,400. So the question is, what do you call this figure? So like I told you, most of the times check, okay, so cash received or check received, whichever way you go is acceptable. But since we have check received in the previous year, you can then ascribe it to check received. Now again, I'm going to do some gymnastics here. When you are preparing accounts, it is always expected that your balance carried down should be the last item. Okay, so your carry down cannot come up here and then something follows next. So what it means is that your check received should push up to the position of the balance carried down, and then vice versa. Okay, so it takes experience, and as you solve more questions, to be able to detect that and not commit the error of bringing your carry down before the check received. So I just demonstrated this to show you, but if you are putting in your balance carry down, you should do the analysis to know where the difference would be, so that if you are satisfied that the difference will be at this side, you leave a line and go and put in the balance carry down. Okay, so that difference, which represents the cash received, will be here, or the check received, sorry, will be here. So always when you are putting in your balance carry down, make sure it should be the last item in the account. Okay, so we can balance it off and then move to the next year. So we have 23,000 total, 23,000 total. Okay, so the carry down will now come to 1st January 2009, or 20x9. Balance brought it down 11,000. So we are now in the year 2009. So again, we go into the question, pick the information that we need, be it bad debt, credit sales, cash, or whatever. So let's see for 2009, we're not given any closing balance, but we're given 1,002 as the bad debt for that year 2009. So we can easily put that one in 31st December 2TX9 bad debt, and that's 1,200. Okay. Then as we read through, we are told that in 20X9 the transactions below took place. So you have credit sales, you have goods returned from credit customers. So that's returning was there. And then you have cash received from customers. So I think we can put in these items. Credit sales will be debited. Oh, I should have asked you, but I know you would have gotten it. So credit sales, you have 20,000. And then the next one is goods returned from customers. So that is returning was of 4,500. And then lastly, they said cash received from customers. So cash received, and that is 29,700. Okay. Now here we're not given the closing balance, right? So you let's balance and see what is going to happen. We have 31,000, and this side is going to be how much? Please. Okay, come on, mommy. Okay, so 1,200 plus 4,500 plus 29,700. The total will be 35,000, right? 35,400. Sorry?
The credit sales for 2019. So the credit sales for 2019, so with 20,000 a free.
Oh, it's given in the question. Yeah. Look at it. In 20X9, the transactions below took place. So you have credit sales 20,000. That's why we have debited it too.
So 30.
In your book it's 30. Yeah?
Oh,
then it means a mistake here. Caleb, is that the same in your book too? Caleb, check your book. No more, say 30,000. We're mute your mic, so unmute.
This is 30,000.
It's 30, okay. So as a meme book, no mistake. But in this question it's 20, so but let's use the 30. Because if you use the 20, it's going to give you a carry down at the opposite side. So it's going to be 41 against 35,600. So the difference will be here, and that will be the closing balance, which is the balance carried down, which was not given in the question, but having prepared the account, it is showing us here. So total is 41,000. The difference will be 41,000 minus 1,002 minus 45 minus 29,700. Yeah, I get 5,600 as the balance carried down. So if you use the 20,000 here, the carry down will come to this side. So it's an error. I think Terror has corrected it in. This is an old edition. So, but please, in exams, do it. Whatever happens, just put in there. Okay, so this carry down will now come here as brought down 1st January 2010. So that will be 20x0. Balance brought down 5,600. And that will be your debtors account. So let me go back and explain. You see, the debtors account can be a bit tricky, but what I want you to pay attention to is the items that you need to prepare this debtors account. So as we mentioned, credit sales, bad debt, dishonored check, okay, discount allowed, returning was those items. And remember where to put them if they are given you. But interestingly, sometimes when you are preparing the debtors account, and most especially you are given the closing balance. If you are given the closing balance, there is that potential that you may have a difference at the debit side or at the credit side. Since they have given you the closing balance, that difference cannot be a closing balance, but can be ascribed to credit sales if it is on the debit side, and then cash or check received if it is on the credit side. Having said that, please listen again. There are some questions, they may give you the credit sales, give you the closing balance, give you discount allowed, give you cash or check received, and you still have a difference here at the credit side. Then you can label it bad debt or any item that is not given in the question. Finally, the common ones that they play along with are the cash or check received on this side, and then the credit sales. These two are the main ones that they play around with. But if you have a question where both of them two are there and still some figures are hidden somewhere, you don't know what to label them with, pick any item in the debtors account that is not available and label it as such. I hope it makes sense.
Sir, please, yes.
Okay. So wrapping up on the debtors account, you have to take your time, do it year by year. Okay, year by year. Pick the items, credit sales, returning was, whatever given in the question, and then follow through. Okay. Now let's go to the bad debt account. In fact, the bad debt account is very cheap, very, very cheap. Very cheap. So I would suggest to you that when it comes to exams, it should be the first thing you prepare, the bad debt account. So let me show you quickly what you do with this bad debt account. That one, you do it year by year, right? So beginning from the first year, you go and ask yourself, what bad debt was there? So 2007, we are given bad debt of what? 950. Gentlemen, this is what you do. You debit it to the bad debt account. Now, regarding the date you use the date on which that bad debt occurred. But if that date is not specific, then you can use the closing date, okay, to record your bad debt. But there are some of the questions they will tell you maybe on 1st July a bad debt occurred. Please use that specific date. Unless there is no date, then you can use the closing date. So 2007, we are told bad debt is what? 950. So don't waste your time. Come to the debit side and debit it. So here we are going to use the closing date, 31st December 20x7. If you debit it, the narration is debtors, right? 950. And if you follow, look at it. When bad debt occurs, we debit bad debt and then we credit the debtors account. Okay, so the credit we did was in the debtors account for that year 2007. So at least you appreciate the double entry. Now immediately you debit it to bad debt account. Please, the same year, go to the other side, which is the credit side, 31st December 20x7, and write it off to profit and loss account. So profit and loss, 950. When you finish, underline that figure twice and you are done with 2007. Okay. Then you go to 2008. You pick the bad debt figure that was given, 31st December 2008. Debtors. How much? 1,600. go to the credit side at the end of the year, 20x7, write it off to profit and loss, 1,600. Underline the figure twice, move on to the next year. So the bad debt account is very cheap, very simple, very robotic. So the last year will be 31st December 20x9. Debt is 1,200. Then you go to the credit side, 31st December 20x7, profit and loss, 1,200. Underline the figures twice and you are done. So that's how you record the bad debt. You debit it, and then at the end of the year, you write it off to profit and loss account. Is it not simple? Very simple. We didn't continue to 2010 because 2010 we're not told of any bad debt, 2011, 2012, 2013. So the final year is 20x9. So this is the bad debt account. Very simple. Very, very simple. Any question at this point before we look at the provision for bad debt account? Ken and Caleb, are you okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So please, when you are solving any question, they ask you to prepare the bad debt account. Please look at the year, check the bad debt, debit it, and then at the end of the year, write it off to profit and loss. That one is very cheap. Now let's go to our famous provision for bad debt account. Provision for bad debt account. So like we have been doing, the provision too is very cheap. You record it and see whether you have to increase or decrease. Okay. Now, before you begin, you know that the provision is calculated at the end of the year. You multiply the rate given, and in this question, they are telling us it is 8%. 8%, right? So it means that to get to the provision, we have to multiply the 8% by the debtor's figure at the time. Is that not the case? So beginning from the year 2007, so the year 2007, our provision calculation will be 8% multiplied by the debtor's balance at the end of 2007. And that debtor's balance should have been adjusted with everything. So it should be the closing balance. Okay. So since you have already prepared your debtor's account, you just go and pick your debtor's balance, closing balance for 2007. And that is how much? 8,000. So you multiply 8% by 8,000. And what are you going to get? I think it should be 640 or something. I'm on checking, man.
Yes, 640.
Okay. So that's 640. You come to the credit side. Remember provision, we credit it at the end of the year. 20x7. Profit and loss 640. Okay. So that's for 2007. After that, you balance it and move on to 20x8. So let's do the balancing. 640, 31st December 20x7. Balance carry down 640. So this one will be brought down to 1st January 20x8. Balance brought down 640. Okay. So that's one. Don't miss this. In fact, it's very robotic and easier to do. Very mechanical. Okay. So calculate it. credit it, balance it, and go to the next year. Then as you go to the next year, 2008 or 20x8, again, you multiply the percentage, 8% times what is your debtors balance for 20x8. Since you already have your debtors account, come here and you see 11,000. So 8% times 11,000. What are we going to get? Is it 880? Check for me.
Yes.
Okay. So now this is where you begin to look at whether it has increased or decreased. We'll say a year for 2007, we didn't have to check whether it has increased or decreased because na ebi ni hodada. But for 2008, ebi wo hodada, which is 2007. So we need to compare and see whether it has increased or decreased. So in this case, Caleb, has it increased or decreased? Professor Caleb.
It has increased.
Okay, so it has increased by how much? I think it's
200.
240. Open your
1840.
So this 240, that increment is what you put in the provision for bad debt account to profit and loss account. And we last time we discussed the increase in all credit, decrease in our debit. So there's an increase. So we credit the decrease 31st December 20x8 profit and loss. Only the increase of 240 and open at the cover. Then you balance it and move to the next year. In TM balance, we have 880. 880. So the difference is 880, which is the balance carried out. Using the closing date 31st December 20x8. Then it will count down 1st January 20x9. Okay. So 20x9, the balance brought down is 880. So we are in the year 20x9. Then we'll go and calculate the provision 8% times. We'll go to our debtors account and pick the closing balance for 2009. That's 5,600. So 8% of 5,600 is equal to saying, number calculator. Okay, we have 448. And here again, you have to do the analysis and see whether it has increased or decreased. So, Kenneth, has it increased or decreased comparing 2008 to 2009?
Decrease.
Okay, it has decreased. By how much? 432. Good. So if this is a decrease no better debit to the account for that particular year to profit and loss. So 31st December 20x9, we debit with profit and loss because it's a decrease of 432. You use the decrease amount 432. We are not balancing. So when you balance it, I think the difference will be here. That will be 448. Balance carried down. 1st December 20x9. So the total is 880. 1st January 20x0 or 2010 balance brought down 448. Then you are underlying your total figures. And that is it for your provision for bad debt account. You can't continue 2010 because there is no information for you to continue in 2010. Okay, so for the provision for bad debt account, it's very simple. Once the first year your calculation now, you don't have to compare to know whether increase or decrease. Even if you were doing comparison, it will be 0. No, there was none there. So 0 against 640, it means it has increased. Okay, so it still follows the increase assumption that we credit increase and then we debit what? Decrease. And once we study account, always the balance carried down is equal to the new provision you calculate for the year. And to you at 2008, the carry down was what do you call it? 880. 2009, the carry down was what? 448, which are the new provision that we calculated. So that is it. Let me ask if you have questions. Ken and Caleb, do you have questions? I'm sure if you do, it will be around the debtors account, how we were doing some gymnastics. No question for me, gentlemen? Okay.
Say comedy means top into China. Say can we do this question like a similar something?
Okay. So I'll put a similar question on the page for you to try your hands on.
Say like
Was it like the?
Okay.
But it's light out here.
Oh, no problem. Say you have tomorrow. You have tomorrow morning, so I'll take it from tomorrow.
Okay. Hey, say, listen, like me phone and charge you.
Imagine or change him, right? Okay, Martin. Okay, so have a good evening. I'll put a question there for you to try your hands on the debtors account and the bad debt account. Okay, me record this to intimate the videos in the 2-page mama so that you can have access.
Okay.
Okay, so have a nice evening. See you tomorrow, God willing.